Arne, the game was breathless at times. What did you make of your team's performance and the final result?
What does breathless means?
End to end, lots of chances, ebbed and flowed.
Yeah, what did I make of the game? I think we started off really well, scored a goal, got a big chance from a set piece where we were close to scoring the 2-0. Then in a quite a large phase of the game, we struggled to control their sixes, so they were constantly able to find them and then set up an attack. Unfortunately, like last week, we conceded a set piece, and that makes it really hard in a top game to win a game of football if you have a negative balance in set pieces, especially if you look at it. It was such a sloppy goal, or which word you want to use, but it wasn't a great cross and a header. It was just no one touched it and it went in the second post. Second half, apart from the third minute where they scored, which was fractionally offside, I saw a team that had a completely different intent and a completely different intensity in terms of pressing. We were a few times close, as so many times this season, hit the post, hit the bar, but not enough to win, and that's why it ended in 1-1.
Rio Ngamoa was really positive in the game, but then there were boos from some of the Anfield crowd when he came off. Why did you feel that was the right time to replace him?
I don't think it was some of them. I think there were a lot that didn't agree with that change, which I completely understand if you just look at how he played. But it does make sense if you know that 3 minutes before he goes to the ground, with having problems with his muscles. And then when I asked him, he said, no, not sure if I can continue. Yeah, and then the idea was maybe not to take him off, but when he gave the signal that he wasn't completely ready to continue, then it makes complete sense. But I knew this would have been the reaction because he's such a popular figure. He played a good 65, 70 minutes, 65, something like that. But yeah, it's so often in football, people don't know everything, and that's how it works. But it is what it is. I'm the manager, I need to make decisions, and sometimes people are happy with them, sometimes they don't, and today clearly they weren't. Maybe knowing now why makes it more sense for everyone.
You cleared it up now, so that does make sense. What about on the final whistle? Because that's when there seemed to be even more boos. What was your reaction to that?
No, that probably has to do with us not winning. So a draw. From the last 5 games, we won 3 last week, and today a draw. Yeah, that's not what we want. We want more. We want to win them all 5. But as I said, last week we had a negative balance in our set piece. Today again, conceding a set piece. And we were very, very close with Virgil to score one ourselves. So yeah, it completely makes sense that people are disappointed if we don't win, because that's what we want. We want to win. And it should be like this. If Liverpool doesn't win, no one can ever be happy with that.
Thank you very much, Arne. I appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, Onslaught clearing that up about Rio Ngamoa being substituted. We were sitting really close to him, actually, and I did see him call over to Rio at one point to ask if he was okay and ask if he needed to change. So clearly, he felt it was the right thing to be cautious and take him off.
Yeah, we were right next to the bench, right, so was privy to a lot of what was going on. And I said to Joe, this isn't going to go down well. But we were totally aware of the situation. Like he had spoke to him and said, I am struggling and you need to make the change. But I think the crowd love him here, and I think at that stage they would have been happier if Gakpo maybe had gone off, he'd have stayed on, and Isak goes through the middle. I think that was clear. We mentioned it before it happened, and of course I don't think the fans knew the full story about he was carrying a bit of an injury. So it's a little bit frustrating one because they thought it was a purely tactical decision. But whatever happened, obviously Isak comes on, and I don't know whether he's completely fit or just doesn't feel like, he's not quite the same player that he's been at Newcastle. And
like his confidence has gone.
I don't know if that is. It feels fitness orientated. I don't know if he's quite there fitness wise. I mean, obviously the fact that he even starts on the bench, he's a top quality player. They've not got Mo in the team. They haven't got loads of goals. Ekatike's out. If he was fit, you'd start him. For some reason, he just doesn't seem to have been able to keep himself kind of match fit this season.
They do, despite all the money spent last summer, need to rebuild and take stock this summer to be able to compete on all fronts, Joe. Where do they start with that? How big a task is it?
Well, first of all, I think you need to figure out what system you're going to play, what the manager is. I feel it's set up the 2 up front with Ekatike and Isak next year. And if you start it from a fresh start, I think them, if you can get Isak up to speed, Ekitike, we've seen what he can do, and also he can sort of float out left, but he's been so good in that central position as well. Wirtz as well as a number 10. I think maybe you need to think about changing the personnel behind Wirtz to get the best out of him. You spent 100 million on him. I think he needs. I would look at someone like Elliot Anderson at this club, a physical midfielder, sort of in the Jordan Henderson
I think
mould.
the Manchester clubs will have something to say about that as well.
A lot of people will be looking at Elliot Anderson because he's such a fabulous player. But for this club and the way that they've played, it will plug a lot of gaps in midfield, which will allow Wirtz, in whatever system you play the front three, to do well.
We said they need the fans behind them. They don't deserve it. Joe, was it warranted today?
Listen, the relationship between the players and the fans of their club is always tempestuous. There's always it's emotional. You know, remember this. Although they won the league last year in fantastic fashion with a new manager, you always got the impression that Jurgen Klopp leaving, whoever was stepped into the shoes, it had to be perfect. And last year it was perfect. This year they've changed a lot of players. It's dropped below perfect, and it's the first time in a long time I've felt restlessness in the crowd at Liverpool. And you know, as a player, you feel like that sometimes. You just run your socks off against a decent Chelsea side. You've got a point. You could have gone either way. You could have won the game, and then you're getting booed off at home, and you're like, so then you're emotional, and then you say something, and then like I think the best bit of advice, the fans will stay with them. They're going to turn up here next week, and when they're ready and they see him fighting, they'll be with him. But it's very difficult to say, is it deserved or is it isn't? You know, it's just the standards of this club are so high.
Is it because the manager has lost the fans?
I think there's an element of that. I do think so. There is a bit of, slight unrest with the manager at the moment. Sometimes I think because it was so good under Jurgen Klopp, that you got to park that. I think he's a one-off. I think the style of football was so exciting, so attacking. It's very difficult to live up to that. And unfortunately, I think the style of play, maybe some of the recruitment, have they been up to the levels? Certainly not of previous seasons. No, and I think that's disappointing the fans. And I think the fans are very knowledgeable in this stadium, and I think they know that is this the direction that we want to go. And I think that's where, certainly in the summer, then certain conversations have to be had about, do we double down and we back Arne Slot, or is this the direction we want to go? And that's obviously the questions for upstairs.
Does he deserve the opportunity to turn it around, Joe, do you think?
He definitely deserves it, Linz. Like you said, Jurgen Klopp's shadow is in this club because he was loved by the fans. I don't think there's a better connection between a manager and fans in world football, and the players as well. It seemed like they loved him. And then you come, everything goes swimmingly. Slot, but he won the league last year, Slot. And that's got to count for something.
Here,
yeah. And I just think there's lots of circumstances that have happened around it. So he does deserve. But sometimes in football, you don't get what you deserve. And I think
Quite often.
Exactly, yeah. Well, you are a Newcastle fan, Lynn. So,
I know all about that.
Yeah. So, listen, I just think the thing that Xabi Alonso is available. I keep coming to that, and I think you look at the quality of the players that are here, the type of players that are here, the way that they play. The Liverpool board might think of moving. I don't think he deserves it personally, but it's a unique situation because Xabi was such a big player here, and he's been such an impressive young manager, and you might not get another chance to get him.
The Chelsea fans that we spoke to earlier, a lot of them seem to want Xabi Alonso as well.
Yeah, I mean, I played with Xabi. I think, an opportunity for him to come back here would be ahead of Chelsea. He's loved here by the fans. He's a legend, but I think, Arne Slot's in the job at the moment. You have to get behind him, certainly till the end of the season. And then, things need to be assessed, but I think it does need looking at, and he's got to answer the questions of why it was kind of so poor. Then look at some of the recruitment, moving players out and moving players in, because unfortunately you look at the squad now, certainly with the players who are out at the moment, and they're falling below par. I think if we look at the Manchester United, the kind of front three and four there, and you matched it up with Liverpool's, it always felt, I thought they stayed in the game for a little bit. It always felt that they weren't going to get over the line in that one.
Let's have a little look then at what some of the Liverpool fans were saying on social media after this game. Adam said it was a pathetic performance. End of the season can't come soon enough. The whole team looks clueless out there. Tactics non-existent. James said, get Champions League secured and start making plans for a new management team. The quality and standard on the pitch is woeful, boring, lacklustre and unimaginative play all season. And Harris saying, boos as Rio is taken off. Boos at the full-time whistle. Slot needs a miracle. Really strong stuff on those messages. You read them, and I know that's just a small sample, but obviously the boos in the ground at the end, it feels very difficult, Joe, to see him being able to win them back over. How does he do that?
That's some comments on social media. Listen, the boos here in the stadium is more. I'd be more concerned about that rather than what's being wrote on social media. And like I said, I think it's an emotional reaction. I think you need to really sit back and give it some thought. Actually, I think he deserves another year. I do, but Xabi Alonso in the wings. That's the only thing I'm thinking. Maybe they'll do that.
Well, we can hear from the man himself now. After have the best of it, Liverpool in the second half. They hit the woodwork a couple of times and did have more chances.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I think. Listen, I don't think it wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I think they were kind of outmuscled at times. They huffed and puffed. As Szoboszlai, it always seems to be the main threat running it from distance. I think Rio Engamoa, when he was on the field, it was always a danger. You need to get the ball out to him more. But I don't think they could handle Chelsea's kind of shape, really. Cucurella was so high, they found it consistently getting in down that kind of right-hand side. I felt a little bit sorry for Curtis Jones at times, kind of isolated out there. Chelsea are so fluid in their movement, it was hard to pick up the runners, and unfortunately Liverpool couldn't cope with it.
Did you really feel Chelsea deserved to take something away from here today?
Absolutely. I think the point was a good result. I thought, like Crouch said, Liverpool started well, and you really worried that Chelsea coming off the back of 6 defeats in the league. And they stuck in and they dug in. They showed a little bit of mettle coming to the game. And then I thought Cucurella was finding his position. He was playing 10 yards further up the pitch. He's a fullback, but he times his runs beautifully. One thing I would do from a coaching perspective, I'd get all of the wingers and watch him off the ball. And then their output would look at his position here. He's Chelsea. He's alongside João Pedro. He's the furthest up in the pitch, and that's because of the timing of his runs. He's aggressive, and that can be taught. That's not some players have got he's obviously got a natural feel to it. But I think all of Chelsea's wingers can improve on that, especially in the current climate when they're your wing forwards now, right? That's why he's in all the time.
Was that something, do you think, that they'd really decided to come here and target Frimpong and focus on that left-hand side and Liverpool's right at the back?
Yeah, I mean, they've had a difficult time, haven't they, down that right-hand side. We've had midfielders kind of filling in there most of the season. For whatever reason, the fullbacks, I think, have struggled, and you had to play Frimpong higher up. And I think Cucurella is certainly an area of the pitch that Chelsea, with no doubt, have worked on. And they overloaded that area, and they consistently got in, and a lot of their chances came from down that side.
You said before the game that Liverpool needed to start well to really get the fans on side here, and they certainly did that, didn't they? And there was a lovely goal from Gravenberch, and it felt like it was all going their way from that point.
It was a really good start, and I think getting the ball out to Rio Engamoa was such an exciting talent, but they don't want to dive in, they don't want to get close to him. That affords him the space to get the pass off, and this is what Gravenberch's so good at. Like his first touch away from defenders is so good, and he has it right away from them, and then he bends one. I would say into the top corner, but it was slightly more central, really, and I kind of thought the goalkeeper was at fault. But if you look from this angle here, 2 players in his line of vision, and he can't shuffle across them and make the save, and it was a great strike as well.
No fault for the keeper there, Jordan.
No. I mean, listen, he will probably be self-critical and say maybe he was half a yard further to the right. He could have done, but it's coming through bodies, and that's why they say to you, hit the target, especially early on in the game when you're going through bodies, because you don't even have to catch it. Sometimes you can take a deflection, it goes in.
Well, let's try and once and for all clear up this Enzo Fernandez free kick and whether Fofana got a touch, because I believe that Luke Klippler, working on our analysis today, has actually uncovered some more evidence for us today. So this is what we showed you at half-time, and we really felt at this point that Fofana got a little touch from this, and
first
it didn't
of all,
go straight in.
Well worked, Lindsay. They come across, Gusto comes out, Fofana comes into that role, and he puts it in that area. You know, and I think, look, this is the angle which looks like he may have touched it because the ball moved. But then you see on the next clip we're going to show you, it was a gust of wind. So listen, it just goes to show. Look at this daylight here.
From the ball he is.
Look.
He actually does not touch it there.
You know,
and that's pretty clear.
Which
That's
goes
the
to,
conclusive evidence, I think.
And unfortunately, we were hoping to make Luke a celebrity. Unfortunately.
Well, we called him at Colombo at half-time, didn't we, for solving the mystery? But I think he's gone from Colombo to Dumbo. Look at this.
Look at it.
Because if you look at the shadow.
Yeah.
We're getting forensic about
Do you know
it
what
now.
it
You
does-
can
this
tell
does-
there's daylight in between there. So it has been given to Fernandes as well.
It's been given to Fernandes, and rightly so from what we can see. But it just shows how difficult it is for VAR.
It's the 18th goal, Peter, that Liverpool have conceded from a set piece this season. Why did they not deal with it?
If you look at the start, I mean, I don't know if we can see it again there, but they're in a great line. You know, they, when you're in that line, you have to be strong, and you can't let people bully you. You can't let people push you. You can't get caught. And I believe it was Gakpo at the front there, and he just gets bullied there by Fofana, put out of position, and then it's a matter of time. There was 2 or 3 Chelsea players that could have got a touch there, and it happened that no one did, and it went in. But from a Liverpool perspective, it was a real poor goal to concede that.
It's been a massive weakness for them this season, hasn't it? The most that they've ever conceded from set pieces in a Premier League season, Joe.
Yeah, and when it's as clear as day as there's something that you need to work on, you know, and it's players like Gakpo, because obviously Konate, Van Dijk, you're 2 big lads that, you know, they're dominant, but there's only 2, so everyone else. If you have to do your job like Gakpo in that situation, his job at the front of the line is I have to first of all put myself in the right position where I deal with it, so not too deep, and the line was fine, but then he's only worried about someone coming to bump him from in front. But when Fofana's come from behind him, he's off. He's not got balance, but Fofana's knocked him a yard, and just that yard was enough for Enzo just to leave the ball in that position. It was well worked from Chelsea, but you have to have 11 men switched on from corners, no matter how small your job is, whether, you know, front post, back post, edge of the box. You have to do it. It's critical, and if you're not doing it, you end up on the wrong end of the set pieces table.
Okay, well, guys, we are going to switch over to TNT Sports 2 and HBO Max.
I think we need to clear things up right away, don't we? Wesley, was that your goal?
I think everyone tell me I touched the ball, so yeah. I don't know if I touched the ball, but it's me or Enzo. I'm happy because it was a good goal. It was important, and I'm happy.
We zoomed right in on the pictures, and it looks like you've got the faintest touch. Did you feel it?
To be honest, no. But everyone say they see the goal on the video, and I touched the ball, so I touched the ball.
We saw you were pointing to Enzo after it. What were you saying to him?
Because it was a good shot. We worked on that during the week, and it was a good shot, and I'm happy for him.
Mark, was Enzo claiming that one in the dressing room, though? Did he think it was his goal?
Yeah, I think so. He won the goal, but no, I think the effort today was really good. I think probably it's not our best moments after the last performance at home, but today we show that if we play together, if we fight together, we have really good level. So hopefully we can win a bit of confidence after this game, because next week we have a massive game.
Yeah, was the most important thing for Chelsea today to respond after 6 games without a win, 6 defeats in a row in the Premier League? Was this a much better response?
Yeah, for sure. We are not happy because we won the 3 points, but at the end, today we show that if we won, if we put our effort, if we fight together, we are a really good team. So hopefully we can learn from this game and we can play good these last games.
And it's a point which gets you closer to potentially securing European football. Why is that so important for Chelsea next season?
Because Chelsea is a big club. We have a big player in the big club, so we need to fight for that. We need to go Europe. I don't know if it's Champions League or Europa League, but we need to give everything for the club, for the fans, and we try everything.
Mark, you mentioned next week at Wembley. It's massive. FA Cup final day against Manchester City. How motivated are you as a group to end this season with silverware?
Yeah, it's important for us. I think we have the chance to play a final. We have a chance to win a trophy. So hopefully we can prepare good the game. We can play at good level and try to win this trophy for us and for the fans that today I think they are amazing.
Well, despite you getting the goal today, it's Mark who's the player of the match. Could you do the honours and hand him the trophy? Well,
one goal apiece and 1 point apiece at Anfield between Liverpool and Chelsea. Both of those goals came in the first 45 minutes. No way for either to win it in the second 45. Overall, what did you make of the way that the game flowed?
Well, I think you've got to say it's a fair result because I think Chelsea were the better team, had more opportunities. Second half, Liverpool had one or two. Szoboszlai hit the post, but I don't think they created enough. I think both teams would have performed better in the second half. Liverpool limited Chelsea's chances, whereas the first half, particularly in between the right back and Konate, they had a few opportunities down there. So, but they were toothless. You know, as I said, without Isak's not fit, without Ekitike, without Salah, you know, so they're nice and neat. You know, Curtis Jones, they're neat in midfield, but we really didn't create enough to have won the game.
Yeah, 8 shots is the fewest at home for Liverpool in nearly 5 years. Chelsea only had 1 attempt in the second 45. The way in which they came back into the game at the end of the first half, did you expect them to kind of carry that into the second?
I think that was a positive thing in terms of the first half, going a goal down so early on. It could have been that kind of feeling of, oh no, here we go again. So it was nice to see a reaction. Like I said, on the balance of the game, I thought it was pretty even. Both teams huffed and puffed a little bit without creating too much. We had Enzo's opportunity, which we showed at half-time, which pulled off a good save, but in terms of clear-cut chances, not too many.
Why don't we recap the goals? Because one of them came just in the opening 6 minutes of the game. It came for Liverpool, Rio and Gamoa creating here, Ryan Gravenberch finishing.
Well, once again, he had a free kick, and Szoboszlai hits a great free kick normally, but of course Chelsea pushed forward. I said, take it again, they pushed in. Fortunately, they didn't. Chelsea are in a good defensive position, but he just takes too long to come out. Andre Santos takes too long, because you can see here, they've got lots of men behind the ball. They're holding a good line. And as Gary's favourite word, scanning, you can see that he's scanning a lot. But from that position, Andre Santos has to come 5 yards further forward. Then he could have got closer to the shot. Because as you can see, he's seen 4 or 5 times. He's seen the space. When it gets to him, he's just a bit slow coming out. And it's a great strike, but I think the keeper will be disappointed because it wasn't right in the top corner.
Yeah, I think so. We spoke about him scanning and obviously having, you say to young players, have a picture in your head. He certainly had that. And his first touch set him up perfectly to have the shot, which, like we said, I feel like he was visualising that moment. But from a defensive point of view, of course, as soon as that touch comes out of his feet, the next thought in his mind is to shoot. You've got to try and close that gap as quickly as possible. And yeah, the keeper will be slightly disappointed, I think, with that. But take nothing away from the finish. I thought it was a superb finish.
Another early goal conceded by Chelsea. That's 9 in the opening 10 minutes. The top in their Premier League history, an unwanted record. We spoke plenty in the build-up, Gary, about this Chelsea defence, and they found themselves 1 goal down already before the game really even gets going.
Yeah, and that's been the case, hasn't it? We spoke about kind of how easy they are to play against, and to conceding goals has been an issue for them of late. But you look at that stat and it makes me think, just, you know, be switched on in the start of the game. I always used to say about myself when I played, make the first pass, be in the right position, play your way into the game. It's almost like stay in the game. With the first 5 minutes to concede, it's an uphill task from then on. So it's a disappointing start, and it's something that Chelsea really need to work on now. Be harder, be more resilient to play against and not concede sloppy goals.
Well, let's look at the goal and stay with you, Gary, because they did find, you know, their way back into the game. They kind of clawed their way back, and then this finish from Enzo Fernandez is quite superb from the free kick.
It was superb, and Fofana plays his part massively, because like I said, I think if he comes across there, he's out of the eye-line. Gravenberch doesn't see him coming, and the little nudge there creates that little bit of space. So Fofana's impact in the goal was huge. The delivery is a nice delivery. Of course, he's trying to put it in that danger zone. The goalkeeper can't react until now, which is too late.
Okay, somebody gets it.
Yeah, I think that's the case.
But the interesting thing about that, he says it's a good delivery. If Fofana doesn't come and ease Gravenberch out of the way, Gravenberch just clears that, and then you can say it's a terrible free kick, or you got to clear the first man. So as much as, yes, it's gone in, for me, that is not a good free kick, because if Gravenberch is alive, that didn't go past him, and then you're going to go, everyone will say you got to get it over the first man. So yes, it worked out for them. And once again, Fofana's come and he just pushed him out of the way. I mean, no one's looking for a free kick, but Fofana has just eased him out of the way for that to happen. But this is what people do in set pieces these days. We see Arsenal do it a lot.
You talked a lot about set pieces and their prominence. Liverpool, unfortunately, conceding set piece goals at an alarming rate, 18. Only Bournemouth have conceded more in the Premier League so far this season. I know you're saying it wasn't really a good free kick, but he's going to say he meant that all the way.
Well, interestingly, normally it's the in-swinger that if no one touches it goes in, that's an out-swinger. Yeah. And he never meant that. That's a cross coming in, and of course he's tried to swing at it. Other people should get at the end of it, so I'm not having it if he says he meant that.
When you look at it, concerns about Liverpool's defending at set pieces, obviously, and yet again found out here. John.
Yes, but I think that generally speaking, set pieces, a lot of clubs are now concentrating on set pieces. Liverpool are a big side, you know, they've got Van Dijk, Kanate, but it's just, listen, when he locks out, and that was a fortunate one. But you can't say Chelsea didn't deserve it because they were the better team in the first half. They had clearer opportunities than that to have scored, which obviously they didn't. So, yeah, I suppose it evens itself out.
Very honest from Fofana there. Would you have tried to claim it?
Yeah. No, he said, I think his first worry is probably that he was offside, maybe. He wasn't. But clearly you see on this image, I think, right, here we go now. It's clear he doesn't.
Put it this way, if you were a striker, you'd claim that. But defenders are more honest.
I feel like Gary would have tried because he didn't score too many goals. He said yes, he would have tried to claim it.
Yeah, but they haven't got that way about them. Strikers can lie very easily, but he would be very guilty in trying to claim it. We'll see through him.
It's hard to prove when you see it like that, though, so he's got no leg to stand on there. But like I said, he's played a huge part in it.
You're not lying right now, are you?
About?
Well, you just said, you know.
Well, you can never tell with the strikers, can you?
Let's look at the opportunities for Liverpool because they were denied twice by the woodwork in the second 45. This is the moment where John Szoboszlai hits the post.
Well, of course, anytime he's anywhere within 40 yards from goal, he's going to shoot. And here you can see it's a fantastic strike. The goalkeeper doesn't want to be beaten at the near post, so you can say, you know, if he was beaten... And I think he had it covered, if you see. But, you know, Dominic Szoboszlai, anywhere around from 30 yards, he's going to look to shoot. So, yeah, he was unfortunate there. And this one, of course, Virgil van Dijk, he's asking for a penalty. In many respects, had he not had the header and not hit the post, then he could have... But, you know, yes, he's wrestling...
it's risky though, John.
It's risky. And I suppose had he even just fallen down without even heading it, then he would have had... I don't think he should have had a better claim because you can see Caicedo's got his arms all around him. But I think for the fact that he had a clear head and he headed it, then he's asking for the penalty is probably what rescued it.
So Liverpool calling for a penalty there, they were not given one. And then at the other end, Chelsea thought they should have had a penalty. Let's look at this and get your thoughts on whether this should have been given.
So I've seen this a couple of times now. I don't think there's enough in it for me, and that's even with my Chelsea hat on. I think when the ball goes through here now, you'll see it better on a different angle. But I feel like Frimpong was in position, and João Pedro's almost got his leg. You'll see it on this angle, and I'll explain it better now. There, he puts his leg across him. So Frimpong's got his body in position, and I think it's João Pedro that makes the movement across. And they just get a tangle of legs. So for me, held his position, I don't think there's enough in that for a penalty.
Yeah, I think if you look at the body position, he has got the pole position in line with the ball, and João Pedro tries to put his leg across. So for me, it wasn't a penalty.
What would you have liked to see in the second half from Liverpool?
I'd like to see more composure. I'd like them to create more, I won't say necessarily clear-cut opportunities in terms of in front of goal, but be more progressive in getting into wide areas or getting in and around the box where they're going to have more shots like Dominic Szoboszlai. But as I said, when you're missing your three main strikers, you're really relying on people playing out of position, you know, to really do that. So for me, they never looked as if they were going to create those kind of opportunities that we normally see from them because of the front three are missing. So I suppose you can say they're happy with the point. Both, well, maybe not Chelsea, but I think that, you know, the way it went at the start, Chelsea have to be happy.
Well, we can find out more about Chelsea and their thoughts on that draw at Anfield. Let's go back there and get post-match reaction. Here is Levi Colwill.
Levi, can you be happy with the point?
It's a tough one to take, I think. I think we played some really good football out there. Close offside goal, I think a definite pen. So we're disappointed because, you know, we're Chelsea and we expect to, no matter where we go, to get 3 points. But with the recent run of form, you know, coming to Anfield's always a tough place, and, you know, leaving with a point in the worst thing in the world.
I suppose breaking that run of defeats and even looking at the relationship between the fans and the players at the end here as well, that's progress, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. I think, you know, the fans always know that we give 100% for them, and I think today, you know, they really see it. We dug in deep, and like you said, you know, our form ain't been great, but no matter where we go, we're going to give 100% for the fans, for the club, for ourselves, and try and win, which we done today.
How did it feel to be back out there starting a Premier League match again? It's been a long time, right?
Yeah, 100%. Before the game, there was no nerves. I was just happy to be back out there, you know. I said to myself before the game, you know, no matter what happens, how I play, just be blessed that you're back on the pitch and enjoy it.
And lasting 90 minutes as well is great ahead of the cup final. It's a good little reminder to the manager that you're available now.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's down to the staff that I've been working with during my rehab. They put a perfect plan in place and built me up really well. So now I'm able to play 90 minutes and, you know, build on from here. I think it's all down to them.
Good to see you back. Well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, Ian just telling him there, good to see you back. Let's get your thoughts on Levi Colwill being back and starting today.
Well, it's fantastic to see him back, first and foremost. I mean, as a player, I never had an injury that I was out for that length of time. And at a young age, is that, mentally, that's tough. So to do the hard work and to get back and get the rewards in terms of back on a pitch and starting, before he got injured, he was one of the main centre-backs, one of the main defenders in that Chelsea team, even at the young age that he is. And he was going from strength to strength. So delighted to see him back. And I thought he played, I thought he was solid today as well. So all in all, great to see him back for not just club, but country as well.
He did say this was a tough one to take for Chelsea, and that was definitely a penalty.
No, I mean, of course, he's a Chelsea, and very much like the Liverpool one, I would say that Virgil's wasn't definitely a penalty, no. You see strikers do this a lot, where they, and Gary will tell you, even if the defender's in position, they put their leg in there for you to either kick their leg or for you to run into their leg and then fall over. Now, of course, if the body angles are different, whereas for me, Frimpong had the line of the ball and he just put his leg across. So, and of course, he's probably on the halfway line looking at that. So for him to see if we've got a clearer view. As you can see, Frimpong's already there and he just put his leg across.
Just using his body. He's just using his body there. And I think if Frimpong was the one that made the first movement, then maybe you would have had a case.
Yeah.
But I think it was João Pedro, like we said, that went fishing a little bit there, and there wasn't enough in it.
It's a very big point for Chelsea. They're first in 7 Premier League games, and a pretty good way to go into the cup final next weekend.
Yeah, it's just because of the last results, isn't it? If you isolate this game as a whole, it was a great reaction after they went 1 down early on. They played some decent stuff, didn't create too much, but defensively didn't allow Liverpool to create too much. All in all, a decent performance from Chelsea. It's just because they're chasing their tails now, aren't they, in terms of them European spots? But if you isolate this game away at Anfield, points not the worst.
I think the performance will please them. Yeah, the result you can see is maybe disappointed, but in terms of the grit and the heart and the fight that they showed throughout the full 90 minutes, we haven't seen from Chelsea in the last 2 or 3 matches.
Yeah, well, that's Chelsea and their reaction to today. What about Liverpool? Before, you said this is probably a bigger game for the manager, Arne Slot.
Well, yes, it's important for us not to lose. I would like to have won. I'd like to have played better. But, we're talking about Champions League, and a lot of people just, say, as long as we're in the Champions League, we're happy. It's a disappointing season. The front 3 players are missing, so we're playing against a Chelsea side who may be devoid of confidence, but on any given day they've got good players, so they can perform as they did today. So overall, I'd say that I was happy with the result, not necessarily the performance, but I would just like the fans to get behind Arne Slot until the end of the season and see what happens. Because, of course, it goes onto the pitch once this negativity continues.
Well, what do you think about Arne Slot's future? You said this was big. It ended up in a draw. Does it move?
I don't think... Had he won, people would have been happier between now and the end of the season. Had they lost, they would not have been as happy. But I don't think this is necessarily going to have an impact as to next season. I don't think these next 2 games, going to be in the Champions League, will necessarily determine his future. I think it's easy to say he's either going to be here or he isn't, but I don't think that these last 2 games are that, when I say not that important to win, but in terms of whether he's going to be here or not next season. And I believe that we have to then, as far as I'm concerned, he should be here next season, regardless of what happens in the next 2 years. 2 games.
Why do you think so?
Because Jurgen Klopp, Pep Guardiola, Carlo Ancelotti, whoever you think is going to come and do a better job, I don't think there's anyone out there who can come and do a better job. So, when people talk about we want to change the manager, who do you change him for to make it better? So that's for me. I don't think there's anyone obvious out there who will make it, because a new manager coming in may say, I don't want these players. Let's spend another 500 million. So therefore, and he won the league, so I've given him, some kind of kudos for that. And as much as they say maybe Jurgen Klopp's team finished 4th that last year, and he won the league with that team. All these players coming in, teething problems, are going to take time. I'd like to give him that time. Well,
speaking of new managers, Chelsea on the hunt for a new manager. What do you think about the summer that is ahead of them?
Of course, it's going to be a big summer. And I feel like they're obviously giving themselves time now from now to the end of the season. I don't think it'll be a rush decision in terms of the next appointment. It has to be right, doesn't it? So I think they will give themselves that time. But it's going to be important. It's going to be a big summer in terms of potential players moving in and out, but ultimately, to get the head coach, manager in place that's going to take this club forward and these young players and develop these young players and take them to the next level is going to be key.
It's also a difficult one because the World Cup ends so late, and there are a couple of managers who are being talked about, but they're still under contract with national teams, and then players will be coming back later on. The season starts pretty soon after that, so pre-season time a little bit shorter.
It's always tricky, especially tournament year, been involved in it myself. You know, players, depending on how far they get in the tournament, strip feedback in, which is never ideal for a manager from the point of view of the pre-season tours and working with the squad. If there's new players to work together, I think that's vital time, you know, in terms of the pre-season and preparing for the start of the season. But it is what it is, and top teams are used to that. Ultimately, it's just about making sure they get the right man in place, like I said, that can take this club forward.
I think the difficulty for Chelsea, if you're looking at a World Cup manager, is that can't be announced before the World Cup, because that would negatively impact him with his country. He's saying, how committed are you leaving? So therefore, they can't make that announcement until after the World Cup. But if it's not going to be a World Cup manager, I think the most important thing is to announce it as soon as possible. If it's not going to be a manager who goes to the World Cup.
How do you think this result for Chelsea in the immediate future sets them up for the FA Cup next week?
Well, unfortunately, I think that from Chelsea, from week to week, you don't know what's going to... Very much like Liverpool. Because after the last two performances, you would have seen them losing, as David James said, maybe 4-3, but not playing as well and conceding more goals. So the danger for the cup final, for the opposition, is that on any given day, they can perform. So, once again, depending on which Chelsea turns up, will determine the cup final.
Well, I do think it's probably more positive than negative. You know,
after this performance.
Yeah, after the performance, like John said earlier, the performance was good. They've come away with a point. They haven't got beat 3-4 and been really poor in the game. So in terms of that, you've got Levi back now. You've got Reece James that come on, which I thought was another bonus for Chelsea. I thought he was very tidy when he came on. So I think more positive than negative in terms of momentum going into the cup final.
Well, that is our early kickoff done and dusted. 1-1 at Anfield. We've got 3 games coming up on Goal Rush, though.